Coming to you from Studio HQ, welcome back to another episode of Sunder Katz. Why Sunder? We're going to talk about something different. In today's episode is Storm King Comics. And why cats is because we are the coolest cats in town. And speaking of cats, I am Dodgy in the mix up with Paul Rabbit Gomez. What's happening?
How's it going, everybody? Welcome back.
And my main man, Manny from Truthful Comics. What's happening?
What's happening?
And welcome back, Dan Membiela. What's happening, Dan?
Hi, everybody. How y'all doing? Thanks for having me back. I'm the new guy.
Well, yes, new-ish.
Don't haze me too hard.
No, definitely not. But yeah, we're going to be talking about a publisher that a lot of us may be introduced to for the first time, which is amazing. That's why I love these shows, because we get to talk about independent comics that we are not really in our pull list or we don't really find in the comic book shops. But there is a name in there that some of us may be familiar with, especially movie buffs or, people who like the movies, in particular the late 70s and the early to mid 80s. And that is John Carpenter. Storm King Comics is a comic collaboration between John Carpenter and his wife, Sandy King. And just before we jump into that, let's shout out our sponsors. You're an aspiring comic creator but don't have the tools. Look no further than Thermon Comic Creations. There are sessions for different ages and different levels of experience. If location is an issue, that is not an issue, as classes can be held digitally via Zoom. Jump on to thermoncomiccreations.com. And Manny, what is 1st of October?
Buying the Comics Day.
If you're a creator like our panel here, please reach out to your local comic book store, make an event, celebrate local creators. It's basically Artist Alley in your local comic book shop. Any growth, Manny, so far in Binding Comics Day?
I haven't heard nothing new. I'm meeting with this with the library, Slover Library this week,
Nice.
this upcoming week, so to get everything squared up. But I haven't heard that much from other people. But it was still early, so we'll see.
Yeah, definitely. And look, it is 1st of October, and at the moment it's just beginning of June. So we've still got a few months, but we still need to make noise. So
yeah,
again, if you're a creator like our panel here, check out your local comic book store. Just ask them if they're interested in having you there to sell your books, to sign, and also help push indie comic merchandise. It's benefit for both ends, stores and creators. All right, so talk about Storm King Comics. As I said, there's a publisher we're not very familiar with, but because it's going to go across the board. So, Dan, I'll start with you first. Were you a John Carpenter fan when it came to the movies?
Definitely, especially The Thing, of course.
Nice.
So I'm not really a horror buff, but the Thing has such an incredible sci-fi premise that there's more than enough there for me to keep me interested. I mean, it's just, of course, a classic that everyone has seen. So yeah, when I think of John Carpenter, that's immediately where my mind goes.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I'm like you, Dan. I'm not a big horror buff. I like Scream movies were cool, but I'm not really one to go, oh man, I want to go watch a horror movie. Like, that's not me. But you're absolutely right. The Thing for me, even when I look at the CGI now, it's it's not that great. In no disrespect though, but it was a human emotion that really got me the most, that really freaked the shit out of me. It was more about how the people were reacting. I'm going to jump to you, Manny. Were you a John Carpenter fan? Any movies that stuck out for you?
The one movie that always sticks out for me from John Carpenter is Vampires.
Right.
He has this movie, and I saw it a few times, but I saw it, when it came out, and it stuck in my head, man. And I saw it. I saw it. Was that
James Woods? He's that
movie was really, really good. Maybe if I see it now, I'll be like, man, it wasn't as good as I think it was. But if you ask me now, I still love that movie. So yeah, that movie stuck in my head, and I know of him but I'm not a horror like you. I don't go out on my way to watch a horror movie, but that movie did stuck in my head.
No, definitely. And how about you, Rabbit? What was your John Carpenter film?
You know, I really didn't have one John Carpenter film. I really wasn't a horror fan, but what I did love was the directing and the way he framed stuff, and just his aspect of movie making was what I was a fan of. I mean, it was, to me, ahead of his time. Whenever he was doing certain films, it was just so great.
Yeah, I think for me, the movie that stuck out the most, and it wasn't horror at all, but was Starman. Like, that story, and at the end was just so, like, I couldn't help but cry. Like, it's so sad. My gosh, like, have you guys seen Starman?
Yeah,
I haven't.
No, it's basically about an alien comes to Earth and basically looks at a photo of this woman's deceased husband and becomes him, models the alien's body based on her dead husband.
Oh,
and he freaks the shit out of her, right? And he's trying to learn English. He's trying to speak. And you imagine, your husband died a month ago, and then suddenly he's alive again. Like, what the hell?
yeah, I was scared the shit out of anybody.
Yeah, and it's really freaky, but in a way, it's really beautifully put together. It's a really sad story too. Like, man, it's just
that would be crazy.
No, it really is, but definitely, And look, when we look at John Carpenter, we think about all the sci-fi action films, but another film of his is Big Trouble in Little China.
And They Live, actually, I forgot about They Live. That's a very fun movie where it's really, again, the social commentary is way ahead of its time, where it's very much like, the social commentary of today of, there's all these elite people and we all just live to provide for their lifestyle, but he he did that in the 80s with a sci-fi twist.
That's crazy.
Exactly. All right. So, Manny, you did mention vampires. That was actually produced by Sandy King, and this is her. She's the brains and the creator of Storm King Comics. So, collaborating with her husband, who's also a fan of comics, which means that we're putting his name, his brand on the titles.
All right.
And you can tell he's a comic book fan, and like, not only does he make comic books, but also get some of the industry leaders or the industry leaders that are kind of at the tail end of their twilight of their careers. So it's great to see that we're actually getting big names jumping on board. And just, I wanted to share this with you guys because, speaking of who are Storm King, are they making any movement in the world? They are an Eisner Award nominee for their Storm Kids title. We're going to be covering a Storm Kids title in this episode. So definitely stick around and find out what we're going to be sharing with you guys. But have you guys checked out the website at all? stormkingscomics.com?
I didn't this time.
I browsed it for a minute or two.
Yeah,
it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it is, right? It's pretty straightforward. It's easy to follow. But one thing I did like, they've actually got an artist spotlight that you guys can check out when you have time, because this will give you the ability to know who's working on it. And also, one of the key things that they ask each interview, like, it's like an interview, and one of them is what does John Carpenter mean to you, or your favorite John Carpenter movie, sort of thing. So it's really cool to get the creators' insight as well by throwing that question in there.
It'd be crazy. One of them said he means nothing to me.
Well, like, John who? Oh, get him out of here.
You're fired.
Exactly. Get out. Sorry. There's no position available now. But no, it's and we talked about this last week, Rabbit, about paying for signed books. You can actually buy a book for $10 that's signed both by Sandy King and John Carpenter. So this is really for the John Carpenter fans, like people who love his movies. If they want to get some signed memorabilia,
See
why not?
that signature. If you're a fan of his, I would pay for that book because John Carpenter is not a guy you'll see at conventions or it's very rare that you get to see him. So that would be a signature I would, if I was a fan, I would pay for, but I wouldn't pay for Joe Blow's signature.
At that price point, that's a really great price point. Most
right,
people
$10.
start charge a little bit more for the signature, and then the book itself. If you're charging $10 for the book with signatures on it, that's really like you're paying for the book, and the signature's just free.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
You go to a show, you're going to pay a lot more than
hell yeah,
than $10 to walk away with a signed book from John Carpenter.
Yes, exactly. But you know what, what you said before, Manny, you might say that. But if Sandy King is invited to a con, I have a feeling he might be there, like bringing her lunch or something. So you better, choose those words lightly.
Yeah.
I had like I'm a basketball fan, and I saw because I saw him from afar, and I was like, that guy looks like Rick Fox. So I came up to him, and because he's like really tall, and I said, and I found out that his wife was actually a movie actor from Buffy, and she was one of the guests, and he was there.
Oh wow!
So I had no idea who she was, but I was like, that guy looks like Rick Fox. He's really tall too, so he must be Rick Fox. And I came up and approached him, and he goes, "Yeah," and I was like, "Oh, nice to meet you." Yeah, no, but definitely, just be careful because he might actually might just be attending as a husband, doing errands for her.
Yeah,
so it'd be a great opportunity.
Yeah,
but no, definitely. And look, I just want to ask you guys around the panel. Have you guys ever read a horror comic book? I'll start with you, Dan.
I would definitely consider Hellblazer, the John Constantine run, and Swamp Thing, of course, the Alan Moore Swamp Thing, to have big horror elements. What was the tagline on the cover? Sophisticated suspense, I think is what it said on the Swamp Thing comic. So yeah, I definitely have, and there's one of the books that we're going to talk about that definitely had a John Constantine feeling to me, like a
100%.
Hellblazer feeling. So
yeah. How about you, Manny? Have you ever read a horror comic book or ever? Had one in your pull list? What was your favorite? Which one?
Well, I mean, I consider Spawn to be like a horror comic, so that's my favorite. But I've read anything from Vampirella to Creepy to, I mean, you name it, Dracula.
Okay. Nice.
I'm a fan of art. So if the art is good, I'll buy it. Right now, I've been dying to get this Monsters book from Barry Windsor Smith. Man, I'm dying to get it, and it's basically like his magnum opus. It's like a horror type of, I think it's like a Frankenstein stuff. Oh, there it is. I'm jealous, man. It's so bad. It's so bad.
But I think that book nearly took 20 years to make, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, every page looks like
it's gorgeous. God. It's gorgeous. Yeah. You can get lost on every page.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
But yeah, I read a lot of horror books, and especially nowadays with the whole buying the comics day. And I've been discovering new books as much as I can. So yeah, I'm experimenting more with books like that.
Yeah, excellent. How about you, Rabbit? Were you a horror comic fan, or do you read anything?
I do. As a matter of fact, of course I'm going to promote myself. Everyone says that my first book's a little bit of a horror book, which is PTSD.
Right.
Cryptic Haze. I call it a thriller, but again, a few people who have read it said it's a horror book. A lot of the people that are on the label that I have right now, which is Charter Comics, they have horror books, including Don't Pay the Ferryman and Forgotten Isles, which are both kind of horror books. So I read those before I started writing, and it kind of inspired me. But also like Silver Coin, Ha Ha.
Yeah,
it's just. I mean, some of those books were just kind of out there, crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, and just before we dive into the books here, did you find some like comfort, or did you find that these books were kind of similar to what you were reading, like all the books that you just mentioned?
Oh, they were a little bit similar in some aspects, but they were, a little bit different as well. I mean, definitely you could tell that they had their own spins on just about each and every one.
Yeah, Manny, did you feel the same way?
Yeah, they all, to me, all the titles felt very cinematic. It felt like you could totally see each one of those in a movie or something like that. So I don't know, maybe that's the idea behind it, but so who knows? But yeah, they felt very, very, yeah.
And Dan, did you find, like after reading Swamp Thing and Constantine, you found some connection to some of these titles in terms of the similar genre?
Definitely, and Manny mentioned EC. There was one of the books where at one point I thought like, oh, this is like a high def EC story. Like,
yeah, that's true. That's true.
Remastered edition.
yeah, because EC was probably mostly black and white, and it's old style making comics. So you see this, it's more polished for sure.
Yeah, and I guess. So please continue, Dan.
No. I was just going to say that EC format of like many times the stories were, the living human protagonists were bad, and then the evil bad things were actually like punishing the evil people in the story. That was a common.
Getting their comeuppance, yeah. Yeah.
No, definitely. What I was going to say is that with Sandy King, her background, she is a movie producer, writer, screenplay, animator. So you might have some of the questions answered when you read these books, especially about this feels like a movie. But definitely, you can definitely see it in these titles. And we're going to move on to the first book now, and that is Night Terrors. Night Terrors Graveyard Moon. This is by Stephen Niles with pencils by Stephen B. Scott, inks by Rodney Ramos, and letters by the legendary Janice Chiang. So Janice Chiang has been a letterer for as long as I remember, like late 80s or even earlier than that, I'm fairly certain. She's been around a while. So she's a big name doing the letters for this. And gotta go across the board. So Dan, what do you think of Night Terrors?
So Night Terrors was excellent. It was probably my favorite of all of the books. It was definitely the one that this happened a couple times, but it's definitely the one I meant was, oh, this is a high def EC book, like, because I mean, I don't know spoilers, but it's kind of that format of what happens in the story. And I think Steve Niles wrote or worked with Bernie Wrightson on some books in the past, because I've seen his name before. I haven't read those works, but I mentioned that I had an interesting piece of trivia about one of the comics, and it's this comic.
Okay.
Because the artist Steve Scott, we've talked before, Dodgy, that in the 90s I wrote some indie comics. Steve Scott is one of the artists that drew some of my scripts for those comics in the 90s. So when I saw his name, I thought, hey, all right, that's nice to see a familiar name doing well. Like, and just his stuff. I thought his stuff looked great back then. It's even better now. That double page spread of the barge of the funeral ship. I mean, that is so gorgeous. I mean, when I saw it, I thought like, oh, I can't wait till the next time we see the ship again. It just looked great from every angle.
Yeah.
So,
just
really good story.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, I actually really enjoyed this. I think this was one of my favorites. But Rabbit, what did you think of the writing and the pacing of this story?
I liked it. I liked the twists and the turns in the story, and the way it worked so smoothly at the beginning, and then just kind of like blew up at the end. It really seemed like the pacing of it really was really well.
Yeah. No, it's definitely. I did love the double cross. I thought that was amazing, and it made it a lot more enjoyable. And I mean, seriously, 71 pages, but I flew through that.
True.
You know what I mean? It didn't feel like it. Manny, talk to me about the art. What do you think of the art in this book?
Man, the art, it's crazy that you work with him, Dan, because that the artwork is fantastic, man. The artwork is really, really good. It almost reminds me of like Art Adams, because it has a lot of cross hatching, a lot of shadows and stuff like that. So it's very, very good artwork. The cover is amazing by Kelly Jones, which is the artist that got me hooked up on Batman.
Batman, yeah, wow.
So yeah, as soon as I saw the cover, I was like, holy crap, dude. I even love the logo of the title, because it's like it reminded me of Stranger Things, the series from Netflix, but that's the style of horror logo that they used to do back in the 70s and stuff like that for all those movies. It's that type of letter. So I was like, oh, this is cool. They're going, you know, like a throwback. But the artwork is very cool. The lettering, it was so, man, look at that. Holy crap, dude. The artwork is fantastic. The lettering is very it's not the traditional lettering that you always see, but it made it feel almost like European. It made it feel like, when I was reading this, I was like, man, this feels like something that like they should be like in the humanoid line of comics or heavy metal or something like that. But I absolutely love the whole book, man. And like you say, 71 pages, but it flew by.
Yeah. Usually I get comments saying, this book's 71 pages. Do you want me to read the whole thing? I didn't hear any of that. I didn't hear any of that. So I was really pleased. And I don't blame you, because I flew through this. And you're right, man. It does have that European feel. It has that like that space noir feel, whereas words don't really need to be spoken as much as they should be.
Right.
Just let the art tell the story. Right? Yeah. But I mean, Rabbit, would you recommend this to a science fiction fan? Like, what were your thoughts overall?
I definitely would. I mean, I'm not the biggest sci-fi fan, but I definitely jumped into it. And like you said, it was such a long book, but I didn't realize it. And, you know, I have problems reading some books, and whenever they're long, I kind of have to stop and take breaks. But with this one, I just read it front to end, and it really was smooth read.
Yeah. And Dan, would you recommend this to a science fiction fan?
Oh yeah, definitely. I would. It's excellent. It's a horror story, but it's very much like in the style of. I mean, it's not like the movie Alien, but it's like Alien in that Alien is really a horror monster story. But again, I love Alien because it's an immense immersive sci-fi story where I can just turn off that I'm watching a horror movie, which I don't really care for, and just get lost in, oh my gosh, so many wonderful sci-fi details. This has that, all over the place.
Yeah. And with the Storm King comics, is that this is actually under a banner called Night Terrors. So this is Night Terrors, and the actual name of this book is Graveyard Moon. So you will see further Night Terror titles, but with different subtitle, because it's actually a different story overall, but under the same category. Does that make sense? Like Marvel Comics presents Wolverine or Ghost Rider. It's a similar premise. So, if you're really into the horror, Night Terror would be for you. And I'm not the biggest horror fan, but I really dug this book a lot. I really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So I think you will too.
It was great. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, moving on. And this is another, another subtitle, hyphenated subtitle. And this is Storm Kids. So Storm Kids is more designed for, I guess, the younger audience that are like getting introduced to horror. And this story is called Hyperbreed by another industry legend, Louise Simonson. So, of course, her husband had to draw the cover. Walt Simonson did the cover. Co-written and art by Guy Dorian, with inks by another legend, Sal Buscema. Colors by Ross Campbell and letters by Janice Chiang. Just going to move across the board. And Manny, what did you think of Storm Kids?
I really liked it. It's I think this like you said, it's like a young adults line of from the Storm Kings line, But I loved it because anybody can read the book. You know, I guess it's a horror book because it has gore, you know, a little gore or whatever. But it's like I was reading it and I was like so involved in it. I was like, man, this is like a Guardians of the Galaxy type of story or something like that. It's like you love I love the character designs of, you know, all the characters, their interactions, the action, and it flew by. You know, the story is very fast paced. The artwork is really good. The color for me, the colors were they stole the show. The line work is good. You know, obviously it's really, really good. A lot of I call it very busy because it has a lot of lines if you look at it good, but the coloring is something else, man. It ties everything together.
It really is. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I absolutely love this book, man. It was really, really good. Really good.
Kind of reminds me of like old Marvel, you know, like Marvel in the early or late 70s, early 80s has that feel to it. So it feels like it's meant to be a kid's book, but for me, it felt like a normal comic book.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed that. Dan, I'm going to go to you. What did you think of Storm Kid's Hyperbreed?
So I really enjoyed it, and I want to build off what you just said, Dodgy, because I was thinking like, you know, oh, okay, what am I going to say when it's my turn? And what I was going to say was I'm a superhero nerd, so though this is not a superhero comic, it's a superhero. Like when you just said more like a normal comic, I was like, does he mean a superhero comic? Because that's the vibe I got. It's a superhero book. So even though it's a sci-fi thing and they're genetically altered humans and there's a whole issue with them, a political issue and all these different things, I was like, oh, I know this language. This is the language of a superhero comic. Like, I know exactly what's going on. I wasn't like, why do they look so weird? Why do they have so many abilities? Like, no, I get it. They're superheroes. Like, I understand it. So it was very, very enjoyable. A lot of fun. And, just really neat character designs and the whole setting. And it was just very interesting.
Yeah. And Rabbit, what did you think overall with the writing of this story?
I thought it was good. It was really smooth. I thought the thing about it was I thought it was going to be more for kids whenever I first saw it, and I felt it was more for teens. Again, whenever you said Guardians of the Galaxy, I really felt that resonate whenever I was falling into this story. It was definitely put together well, and that's just where I stand with it.
Yeah. And the writer is Louise Simonson, which she's a legend from Marvel, and I mean I love her work. So this felt like something out of a Marvel's, you know, late 70s, early 80s when I was falling in love with comics, you know. So this fell right up my alley.
And I really like that a lot of things that were happening were explained, but not in a way that was force fed. Right. It was like you know, some things were explained, like what's happening to the ship and what's happening. It just sounded like an everyday conversation. It wasn't forced information, but it was enough information for you to actually gravitate towards what is happening and why it's happening and why the characters are all freaking out. And I just thought the growth of the characters were really decent as well. We got to know their names and what's happening, and oh man, I don't know. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to tell you, and I know you're gonna love this, Dodgy. As I was reading it, I was like, man, a toy line from this comic book would be freaking amazing. Because all these character designs I'm like, oh my god, yes, give me a toy line from this thing.
Especially the bad guys. I mean, yes, please.
Yeah, look at that. It's crazy.
I feel sorry for the sculptor. I have to put this together.
Yeah, get my Farland to do it. Get my Farland toys.
Get the Todd father to take it. But no, I thought this was fun, and like I said before, it just felt like just an everyday superhero title. But it was fun. It was like something that you could read back in the early 80s where it didn't have the T plus or the other other warning signs. I don't know. I just really dug this.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah.
If I could just jump in with one more thing about this book is that so we all said kind of slightly different things about or we're saying together all kinds of different things, but they all kind of mean the same. They all kind of work together because like, oh, it seems a little older than for just a kid, and it reminds me of an old Marvel. But think of those old Marvels; they were ostensibly for children, but they were so well made and so well produced that any age adults could enjoy them also. So maybe it's that kind of vibe is what we're picking up from it. That it's aimed, meant for a younger reader, but it's actually so well produced and so well done that an adult could easily
anybody can read it. Yep,
anyone can read it. That's it.
Yep,
strong enough for an adult, but made for a kid.
Yes, exactly. Now, well said, Dan. Moving on is science fiction or tales of science fiction. This is Vortex by Mike Sizemore with art and letters by Dave Kennedy. Not a whole lot of creative team, just 2 people working on this. Gonna jump to you. Go back to you, Dan. So, what did you think of Vortex?
So this was much more like Alien than the first book, where it really is. If you could easily strip out that they're miners going to this desolate location and a rescue mission, and have it be miners in a state in the U.S. or anywhere here in the world going down, and there's some horrible thing happening. It's very much a horror story, but then it's in all again. I enjoyed it very much because it's set in this very rich sci-fi setting, and when you said the small creative team, Dave Kennedy, his back, I mean, it's very well written, but Dave Kennedy is really doing a huge amount of lifting on this book. Oof. And the lighting, like everything it reads wonderfully. Everything is drawn very well, but the coloring and the lighting, especially when they go into the dark section of the book, that's amazing. And that's all Dave Kennedy doing that. Like, that's incredible. Kudos to him.
No, definitely. I mean, some of the art scenes I'm going to be sharing with you guys is mind-blowing. But we'll get into the writing first. So, Rabbit, what did you think of the writing of Vortex?
Well, I got to admit, it lost me for a little bit. I had to reread it to catch up to it. I thought it was beautifully written, but it was a little bit harder for me to understand at first. It really was in depth and strategically put together really well. I definitely give you that.
Yeah, no, it is. And I'm with you, Rabbit. Like I think this is really sophisticated. But in many ways, Manny, I found this to be more like a European comic book than, say, Graveyard Moon. What did you think of the art?
Man, the art, the artist, like Dan was saying, man, he did a lot of heavy lifting. I'm telling you, this guy is like the height of his powers in terms of artwork. He not only like just illustrated, but like he was saying, the coloring on this book is something to behold. It ties everything together, and it just completely puts you in there. It puts you into the story just by the coloring, but the way it looks. It shows you like the scope of where you're at, the buildings, the spaceships, the camera angles. I mean, this book is it's beautiful to look at. This is really, I mean, I was reading it and in my head I was watching a movie. Seriously, it looks like a movie. So it was amazing, and yeah, it's to me this was the best looking one of all the ones that we read, and we've and the artwork on all of them are really good, but this one is to me it was the best looking one of all.
So just looking at this image, right, it's hard to believe that this actually came from the same artist.
It's crazy. I mean,
the previous page to this, it's so insane,
man. So many details, and look at that lettering. The lettering looks like it's like space text messages or Facebook windows. It's so freaking amazing, dude. I mean, yeah, this book is something else, man. For real, it's really good. And it's like it's almost like the Aliens movie, but at the same time it's like a rescue mission.
Yeah.
But it's like they don't trust each other. They bring this pilot to bring him down to where they gotta rescue people, and she was supposed to be locked up.
That was my
So it's
favorite
like,
part.
what the hell's going on in here? you quite don't know. It's a lot of information, but you just drawn out. I was drawn in because everything looks so beautiful. I was like, man, this is crazy.
Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong, and I think the lettering, like having the artist do the lettering as well, is kind of rare. But
Yeah.
I guess with the artists, they know where to put the letters and what they have actually visualized, right? They're probably visualizing both the art and the letters at the same time. It's crazy how good it is.
And the way they those little word balloons, it works because the scope of the images, sometimes the characters in a let's say a 8-inch page in a regular comic book, the character may be like half of an inch or maybe a quarter inch size, and you have this giant scenery, giant landscape, and you're like, well, you got to know what they're talking about, but in order for him to show the scope, he has to find a way to let them know that what they're saying. And they figure out this way of doing with these little text message things, and I was like, man, this is so freaking clever, dude. It works, man. It works.
Yes. Well, I mean, I really dig the art. I think the art, you're completely right. It's mind blowing.
Yeah, it is. Damn it, I need to go on the drawing board.
I don't blame you. But overall, would you recommend this book around?
Oh, hell yeah. I would recommend it if you like any type of sci-fi story, aliens, stuff like that. I would recommend it. Shoot, if you like it almost I don't know if you guys have seen this movie Underwater with the girl from Kristen Stewart, the girl from what is it called,
Twilight,
a vampire movie, Twilight. Yeah, she did this movie called Underwater. It's freaking amazing movie, man. And it's they have like a underwater structure, and there's these aliens down there, and they're killing everybody. And this reminded me of that. I'm like, damn, this looks like that. It looks fucking amazing. So yeah, it's that type of story. So yeah, if you like science fiction, if you like horror, aliens and stuff like that, yeah, this is for you. You're not gonna regret it. I guarantee you.
Nice. All right, we're gonna move on to the final book today, and this is Asylum by Bruce Jones with art by Leonardo Manso, colors by Kinsun Lo, and letters by Janice Chang. So Janice Chang's really busy with Storm King Comics. She's lettering like 70% of all the books that we've covered today. And this one is kind of like personal for Sandy King, because she co-created this character, and also the characters, the premise is all her. It's all her baby, and yet Bruce Jones is like just taking a story in her universe. So, Rabbit, what did you think of Asylum?
Well, first and foremost, I'm going to say that this is my favorite right here. Now, having said that, I do think it missed a beat or two, and I feel like it was storyboarded for a TV show at certain points as opposed to a comic.
Yeah.
Now, the concept and the story on most of the parts, to me, was extremely well done, and the fact that the way they introduced the characters, it was great at points, and then it was hard to get into as a comic, and you can kind of see where they were leading it a little bit too far. But again, it really was my favorite just because of the concept and the way they did the characters. It really was good.
Yeah, definitely. And Dan, what did you think of Asylum?
So I hope I don't get in trouble, but so no one says like, oh, they just say that everything that they love everything. so this was my least favorite of them. So I think technically it's all wonderfully done. The problem is me, because just like I said, I don't like horror movies. I don't like procedural shows. and I felt like this was like Constantine in NCIS. And then I was like, I'm there for the Constantine part, but every time it got into NCIS, I was like, oh man, I wish they would get back to the Constantine part. Like, this is not my bag. This is not my thing. Like, so like it was very well done, but it was just like a genre that is not my favorite type of genre.
But if you like Constantine and NCIS put together,
you are gonna love this book.
Yeah,
you are gonna lose it when you read this book.
It's crazy because I saw the same thing. I was like, this is Constantine and like the Da Vinci Code and stuff like that.
yeah. It was when it got into the procedural part where I was like, oh, get back to the other. Let's talk to the old priest again.
Let's go back to the priest.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, technically, it's all masterfully done. I mean, it's an excellent book. It's just it's not it goes very much into a genre that just happens to not be my bag. Like,
right?
Yeah, no, fair enough. But this was really hard for me to crop images that I could showcase for the audience. This book was very hard.
Yeah,
there's a lot of scenes in this book that are not appropriate for minors, but
right.
But in saying that, though, it's something that would work amazing as a HBO show.
Hell yeah.
It would be amazing. It would be amazing. And I do like the fact that you've got the, like the straight-laced cop teaming up with the John Constantine type of priest who kind of don't trust each other, and they kind of have to work together. And I just liked how they meet, and they just, they meet by him being busted by the cops. So yeah, I thought that was kind of fun. But Manny, I want to hear about what you thought of the art. What did you think of the art in this book?
Man, this artwork, it looks like the artwork is amazing. It's very photorealistic. It gives me like Alex Maleev vibes, but more, a lot more realistic, because Alex Maleev is more, black and white or whatever. But yeah, I like the artwork is amazing. I just couldn't get into it because from the first pages, when I saw the image of the devil and stuff, I was like, this looks amazing. But when I saw the main character interacting with the girl in the beginning, and he just slams the door in her face or whatever, it completely made me not like the character. Just his attitude. I was like, man, this asshole, man. So it's hard. It's hard.
First name,
right? It's hard for me to like him. And then I was like, oh yeah, he's gonna die or whatever. And then I realized he's the main character. And I realized he's a priest. And I'm like, oh my god, this is not gonna work. But it's like we said, it reminded me a lot of Constantine. But then again, I kind of like Constantine, but a little bit. I'm not a huge fan of Constantine, and I haven't read too much of him. So I don't know. I could take it or leave it. It was masterfully done, but it's not for me.
I found some of the panels to be awfully busy, especially this page here, whereas I was confused about who was busting who and who was being thrown around. I found that to be a little bit confusing. I do appreciate the art, though. I do really, really appreciate it. But I think this page here really got me, because I was like, it was just so busy that I really had trouble following what is actually happening. Especially being an action scene, it should be... Honestly, I think should just do one motion, maybe 2 panels. Not like, how many is there? Like 7, 8 panels, like crazy.
Yeah, and I think that was done on purpose like that, because I think they want that scene to be chaotic. So they don't want you to. Well, I mean, that's just me speculating from an artist's point of view, but I don't think they wanted it to be fluid, or for you to see it clearly. I think the artist wanted you to feel like you're almost in the space with them, like the guy is all over the place. So it I guess it works in that way, but yeah, again, it's not for everybody. It's, if you don't like it, you don't like it. It is what it is. But I mean, look at that artwork. I mean, yeah, the artwork is amazing, dude.
Yeah. Like, that's the thing. I wasn't like, artwork's one aspect, but I did like the flow of the series. I don't know. I just thought it was kind of cool how they had that, that relationship with a cop, and being not trusting each other, but forcing themselves to team up. I really like that. But I'm not a massive like cop show fan either. So, but I just like the flow of this issue of this Asylum. But you can't avoid the art. Like there are some panels that are absolutely gorgeous.
No, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
But if they do bring this show onto like CGI, I'd love to see that devil in real. Like that would be amazing.
Right. Yeah, that would be all. That would be 90% of the budget of the whole season.
That we can't afford to pay actors.
Unless he looks like the Malavoya from the Spawn movie back in the 90s. That he was like, so crazy. I was like, what the hell, man? Don't put him in the movie, or make him a practical effect, that type of thing.
Yeah, or just have like a Todd McFarlane art page just up there.
Yeah, damn right. A Capullo art page.
Oh yeah. But I mean, overall, like Rabbit, you really enjoyed this. But what would be your biggest takeaway?
And like they were saying, it was that combination of Constantine with that cop kind of movie, the NCIS kind of thing. I love the concept. That's the reason I love the story so much. It did hit and miss on some parts, like you were saying. In some panels, they were a little bit too busy. But if you like that stuff, it really worked for me.
Mm-hmm. I guess with the art too, it makes it easier for producers to say, I want to make this into a show. Just copy exactly panel for panel.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, that'd be so easy for them to do.
Yeah.
They're seeing everything already done, so just copy this and make it in with actors.
Yeah. But I mean, overall, I enjoyed it for what it was. I thought it was fun. And it was probably my favorite of the bunch. But yeah, as I said before, I'm not a massive cop fan, but I did enjoy this book. But Manny, what would be one of your takeaways from Asylum?
I don't know, man. I think it's it's not that for me. It's not that the book is bad, because it ain't at all. It's just a different, we like what we like, and that's about it. Because there's a huge following for police procedurals and stuff like that, obviously, because they keep putting out shows like that. So I mean, there's if you like that type of stuff, you will love this book. It's just I'm more of a more action and or sci-fi or stuff like that, but it's just personal taste. But if you're into that,
in this,
right? Was that?
You get a bit of that in this, bit of sci-fi.
Yeah.
Bit of action.
And like I was saying, like, to me, it felt like Constantine, and it felt like the Da Vinci Code, or it felt like almost like Training Day. It has a little bit of a few things from different cool things that I've seen elsewhere. So I mean, it's and the artwork is freaking amazing. The artwork is something else.
Yeah. And then, like, just in terms of your opinion, what were your biggest takeaways?
Yeah, I mean, the artwork is amazing. Every panel is a painted panel. All the figures are painted, rendered out in color. I mean, it's just gorgeous looking. And I think Rabbit's point is the earlier point is the best takeaway. If this had more Constantine and less NCIS, I would have liked it more. But if you know someone that likes Constantine and likes NCIS, they are going to lose it when they read this book. They are going to love it. So I mean, it's just a genre book. So, and then also I got spoiled. I got 3 sci-fi books, and then I got this half fantasy procedural. I was like, oh, can we have a rocket ship somewhere, or can someone put a helmet on, or something?
Give me a lightsaber somewhere.
Yeah. So, but I mean, it's very well made. It's just not the genre that I like. But
right,
like Manny said, people love procedurals. So
oh god, yeah,
I'm sure this would be very, very popular, and it's super cinematic. I mean, all of these books are. But yeah, if you enjoy cinematic books, boy, you're gonna love all of these. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, because that was the thing. I was gonna, talk about the wrap up, but I think you really nailed on the head just then, Dan. That if people like cinematic style books, Storm King is definitely one for you,
Yeah,
right?
that's for sure. That's the
Yeah,
first thing. That's the first thing I noticed after I read them. I was like, man, this is it.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's funny because Mark Miller did the same thing. He got his own comic book line, but at the same time, it's like he's getting them ready for the TV, and for movies. And Robert Kirkman
yeah,
is the same thing. He's putting out comic books, but in the back of his mind, okay, I want this to look a certain way and be a certain way because I want eventually to make it a TV series or movie or whatever. And I think this might be the way they're going. I don't know how old is this company, or how long have they been running?
Yeah, my apologies. 2012. Happy
Okay.
10th anniversary. I actually had that in my notes. I forgot to bring it up. 10
Ah,
years.
okay, cool. So yeah, I don't know if maybe they had the plans to make this into movies or whatever, but if they didn't, the comics are amazing anyway. But if they wanted to go that route, they have the perfect storyboards right now because they look,
Yeah.
they look like movies.
Because Sandy King, she is like in her background, she is a film and TV producer. She also produced Vampire. She produced a few of the later John Carpenter films. So she has that experience, and I think she just threw that method into making comics. So potentially that's where that came from.
Yeah.
But I don't want to say for sure. But Rabbit, I want to ask you, what's your biggest takeaway from all the titles from Storm King Comics?
And I basically, just like everybody else says, I'll kind of echo it. It is cinematic. Now, having said that, it's not exactly as comic booky as most are, so there is a little bit differential of it all. But I mean, they work really well. I mean, especially for what they are. Definitely beautiful.
Yeah. I'll use one word to describe them that I rarely use because I sound like a prick, but it's very sophisticated. The stories are very sophisticated. How they look, how they're written, which is not you don't hear that usually about other companies. Very not on every book, but this every title in this book. I guess the Storm Kids title wasn't too sophisticated. It was more old school science fiction, Guardians of the Galaxy type of story. But the other three are very cinematic, sophisticated. So yeah, that's one takeaway that I had.
Yeah, because Steve Niles did have like a little spill in the introduction to Graveyard Moon that he had the script in his head for a long time, and he did really want to write it. But I guess comic books is the easiest medium to actually bring these stories to life. Because what would be worse, right, than you have a beautiful script in your head and it's stuck there but not come out where people can see it, right? And I think this is a great avenue for people who are listening or watching, that if you do have an amazing script, I know Rabbit has one, Manny has one, Dan has one, and they've brought it to life in comic book form. So please, if you have visions in your head, just do what these creators have done. Do what our panel have done and bring them to life.
Yeah. And for example, if you take a story like Vortex, it's not that making a comic book is easier because it's hard as hell. But if you were to make a movie like Vortex, it would be like $100 million movie to make. So if you make it a comic book, it would probably be, I don't know, $5,000 or whatever. A lot more, doable than having to go to a studio and get 80 million, 100 million to make a movie like that. So I guess
But if they do make a movie, at least they know what the scenery would look like and what they really want to put together. But definitely.
And with Vortex, even where the lights need to go to cast all the shadows, like that was just incredible.
Man,
coloring in Vortex.
You know what it reminded me also when I love to see behind the scenes, especially the Star Wars behind the scenes episodes and stuff like that. When George Lucas was making Phantom Menace, he had all these walls full of artwork. scenery and stuff like that, and he used to with a marker. I like this one. I like this one. When I saw like Vortex and stuff, and I saw all this, now that you say the scenery, the lighting, and all this stuff, I could imagine if somebody was making a movie. Okay, I like this. This is where the light is gonna come. You know, you have it right there. It looks like a movie. It looks freaking amazing, man. It's real.
Really does. But I just want to go across the board. So, have you guys actually seen Storm King comic books in your local comic book store? And would you like to see more? I'll start with you, Rabbit.
I haven't seen them in a comic book store. And again, I have a lot of comic book stores around here. I would love to see these. I mean, these like they have that edgy difference to them. So I would love to see them there.
Yeah. How about you, Manny?
I've never seen them, which is shocking considering who are involved with them. And this is the shocking part. I visit a whole bunch of comic book shops, and I travel a lot because I'm usually visiting towns because I'm a history freak. So I'm visiting all these towns, all these comic books everywhere I go, and I've never seen this company ever. So, and the books are freaking amazing. So it's shocking that I've never seen them before. That's why when you mentioned them, hey, we're gonna cover Storm King, and I was like,
you're like, what?
I've never heard. And when you said, yeah, George Carpenter is involved with it, and I'm like, what? That's a huge name. Anybody should know what that company is, but I didn't know. I've never seen it.
Yeah. And how about you, Dan?
Yeah, sadly, I was unfamiliar with not just these titles, but that they were even still, a company putting out the books, and I agree with everyone that it's surprising that I can picture what these books should look like. They should, cardstock, square spine, like Prestige, little, graphic novel type treatments. Like, but I can't believe that I haven't seen them.
Yeah, because to be honest with you, I only found out from my local comic book store, but very, very, very low print. Like, I think we might get like maybe 5 of an issue, and that's it.
That's crazy.
The problem is that they may actually still sit there now. So it's sad because, and that's the thing with Sunder Katz, we just really want to create focus that there are other publishers out there that should get the recognition and they should be seen. And we've seen them with our own eyes. And I mean, how good were they?
Very.
Rabbit, would you recommend picking up an issue of Storm King Comics? Any title?
Definitely, I would say pick it up just to see the cinematic way that they do these things. Like I said, it's not exactly the comic book way. It seems just a little bit different, slightly, and I think that's the greatness about it.
Yeah. How about you, Manny?
Yeah, hell yeah, yeah. I think that all the books are different, and all of them are highest quality that you can imagine. The stories are great. If you see them in a local comic shop, if you see them online, buy a copy because you're not gonna regret it. I guarantee you will not regret it.
Definitely. And you, Dan?
Yeah, I agree. I'm just going to reiterate the same thing. I think, I mean, if you just were to just flip one, you would see, wait, wow, that's what this book looks like. I mean, they're just really very produced at a very, very high standard. And if you have a friend that is into NCIS and Constantine, you are doing them a disservice if you don't recommend that book to them.
Yeah, and one thing I forgot to mention that I should have brought up is that for Storm Kids, if you've got young children that really, and the thing with Sandy, what she said in why Storm Kids is that some kids just like to be scared. There's just some element of climbing into bed and cuddling up and just falling asleep just that feeling of being in bed as a safe place after watching a horror movie or watching something a little bit scary. And I think Storm Kids is a great introduction to getting them into a different genre. I mean, we can read the Archies, we can read, Mickey Mouse books, but at the same time, we've got to watch, get them into something a little bit deeper per se. And I think it's a great introduction.
Yeah, yeah. Some kids like to like that's true, because even I remember when I was a kid. I remember watching even Empire Strikes Back. And that movie is pretty scary when you're a kid and you see Darth Vader coming at you and in that cave with Yoda and he's going at and Luke cuts his head off. If you're a 5-year-old kid watching that movie, that will freak you out. and then he cuts Luke's hand. You're like, what in the world is going on? So I mean, kids, there's things they shouldn't see, and I understand that, but there's things that I don't know. You don't have to baby them that much. And I have 3 boys, and I try to watch what they read and stuff like that. But I sit down with them and read comic books to them, and explain to them. I'm not gonna read King Spawn to them.
Oh no.
But Wolverine comic or something like that from the 80s or 90s. Yeah, he was a little violent, but it's nothing like completely horror. They're gonna be scarred for life or something. It ain't gonna be nothing like that. So
Yeah, but look, guys, it's been really, really fun talking about Storm King Comics. I would definitely recommend it. Just on behalf of all of us from Sunder Katz. Thunder!
Thunder!
Thunder! Oh, Cats! Oh! I didn't get prepped.
He wasn't.
Thank you. We hope you've enjoyed this Comic Crusaders production. For real-time news on all things pop culture, please feel free to follow us on social media. For articles, original content, merchandise, and more, please go to www.comiccrusaders.shop. Also follow along with all of the websites in the Comic Crusaders family. As always, if you like this content, please click like and subscribe to the Comic Crusaders YouTube channel.